Alexander Volkanovski continues to beat everyone in his path. Max Holloway 3 times, Brian Ortega, Korean Zombie. They all thought that Alex was an easy opponent, but when they got into the octagon with him, they realized that they were very wrong. Now for Alex, there are no featherweight rivals, only if Josh Emmett. But who is interested in this fight? Right, few people want to watch this fight, and therefore Wolf has a new goal for the lightweight champion belt. All the low fighters with you channel MMA Iron in this video. We will talk about a potential fight between Charles Oliveira and Alexander Volkanovski. But before starting this video, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and like it. It will take you literally 5 seconds. And for me, the motivation to make content more often. The 3 fight against Max Holloway showed all the fans that Alex is a dangerous fight for everyone. He was able to defeat a fighter who was on a series of 12 wins in a row 3 times. He also had one of the best fights of this year against Brian Ortega, where he showed a champion character. I have nothing to say about the fight with the Korean Zombie. Domination in every round. By the beginning of the 4th round, it was painful to look at the face of the Korean. So many missed blows do not remain without a trace, and he ultimately loses by technical knockout. And that's where we have the Volk in the featherweight division has finished his business, since it will be difficult for him to find new rivals in the near future, and therefore he decides to take a risky move to the lightweight division. Why did I say risky? Charles Oliveira, Islam Makhachev, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. This is a list of fighters who are capable of destroying Alexander. But he moves to this weight class, realizing that lightweight is the most competitive division of all possible. He understands this and therefore will prepare for a fight with a champion with double by force. Who could have imagined that Volkanovski would fight for the 2nd belt? If they told me this in 2019, I would have laughed at this person. But now it all becomes reality. Alex will 100% get a title fight. But against whom? When you went to this video, you noticed that I put Charles Oliveira on the preview. Some will ask me why. Now the Brazilian is the uncrowned champion, and therefore in this video, we will analyze this particular confrontation between Alexander Volkanovski and Charles Oliveira. Let's start with the featherweight champion. As we all know, Alex has long been not just a wrestler. From fight to fight, he is progressing in terms of striking technique. Max Holloway felt it like no other. Before each fight between the Volk and Max, no one gave Alex a chance. Everyone wrote him off. They said that Holloway was on a different level. But as a result, in each of these fights, the Volk interrupted Max in his element, there where he had no equal. Also, in addition to the trilogy with Max, he showed his boxing in a duel against Brian Ortega and the Korean Zombie. It was class of performances, fast punches, perfected low kicks. All these punches could not be tolerated. Everyone broke. In the fight against Oliveira, Alex needs to act like in the first fight with Max, starting from the first round to hit low kicks to slow down the Brazilian, and after that start connecting his boxing, since Charles builds his style on his feet. And if he loses concentration, then for the Volk it will be a great chance. As for Charles Oliveira, his striking technique is growing with every fight. As I said above, his style is built at the expense of his legs. With the help of them, he starts his attacks. At the beginning of the battle, he can break through the front kick to the body, or kick from the kick with this. From the very beginning of the fight, he slows down the pace of his opponent, and then there is pressure without stopping. With this style, he reminds us not without the famous Tony Ferguson. He also pinned his rivals to the cage and beat them there. In addition to good kickboxing, Oliveira has good boxing in his arsenal, which he clearly showed in his past fights. And it would be nice if Oliveira's opponents were passers, but no, they were lightweight tops, which are not so easy to pass. But the main plus of Du Bronx is his accuracy and timing. It was due to her that he knocked out Michael Chandler and knocked down Justin Gaethje. Such a list of defeated fighters makes Alex think about whether it is worth moving to this division. After much deliberation, I choose Alexander Volkanovski as the favorite. Now, I will explain why. In terms of size, Alex has already met with such a fighter, and this is Max. Their height, physique are similar. Volk does not need to come up with something new. He should take the first fight with Holloway as a plan for the duel, and correct it a little. Now, let's move on to the fight. And then an idea pops into my head at the expense of Charles Oliveira's skills. Recently, his plan for a fight is striking, and if you use wrestling, then only in critical cases. And the last time he fully used his skills on the ground was against Tony Ferguson. As we remember, there is a saying, if you don't use something for a long time, don't use it, then over time, you can lose this skill. I hope you understand what I wanted to tell you. Charles may be better than Alex in wrestling, but due to not using wrestling in recent fights, he is unlikely to be able to cause problems to the Volk. But if you do not pay attention to this, then Bronx is still very good in BJJ and control. With transfers down, he is not quite doing well, like the rest of the representatives of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Translating Volkanovski, he is unlikely to succeed as a featherweight champion himself, as a wrestler, and in his youth weighed a decent 120 kilograms. Now, let's talk a little about Alexander Volkanovski's wrestling. He uses it very rarely at this point in his career. At the beginning of his journey, he could not do without a fight. But as soon as he began to practice striking technique, he realized that it was better than wrestling. But still, we are here to reveal Alex's skills on the ground. In the UFC, he didn't fight much, but if he didn't let him get up, under his pressure, it was almost impossible. Also, few people could withstand the wrestling ground and pound. But because of the long non-use of wrestling, it will be difficult for him to remember what he did before. After analyzing the skills in the fight, I concluded that the favorite in this aspect will be Charles Oliveira precisely due to the fact that sometimes he remembers his advantage. There are no complaints about Alex's endurance. Without exception, in each of his fights, he proves to us that with his breath, the ability to go the whole distance, everything is fine. He never gave us a reason for us to doubt him. Just look at his record, and you will understand everything. Out of the last 5 fights, 4 reached the decision of the judges in the championship fight, and there was a controversial decision once. Alex confidently took the rest. And it doesn't matter at what pace the fight is going on. They exchange blows without stopping. They fall into a knockdown. It doesn't matter. He will reach the decision in good functional condition. If you want an interesting fact, almost all UFC champions have good cardio training and drawing conclusions. You can say you want to be the best, work on endurance. Charles Oliveira is a warrior worth looking for, but I haven't seen him in protracted fights, and I can't say what he will be like in round 5. But considering what style he has, how he starts the fight, I can say that up to round 5 with good, he is unlikely to reach with a reserve of strength. He gets punched all the time and body shots can also be noticed, plus this is, as I said, a style that will not allow him to go through all 25 minutes. In this fight, he needs to win ahead of schedule, otherwise Alex will destroy him in the later rounds. The favorite in terms of endurance is obvious. Alexander Volkanovski has more knowledge and experience in this discipline. But who here will turn out to be better in spirit is a difficult question that you can't immediately answer. On the one hand, the dominant featherweight champion, on the other, a champion who was mentally weak, but over time it became difficult to break him. For some reason, it seems to me that with a slight advantage, the favorite will be Charles. My prediction will be this: most likely Alex will win by decision of the judges. He will work in the same style as in the first fight against Max. In the first round, throw low kicks to slow down Oliveira as quickly as possible, after starting to connect your other skills. After the victory, Alex will be waiting for new contenders who will want to take the belt from the new champion. I think he will make one defense and then retire. Oliveira, after Volkanovski leaves, will again try to take the belt. But as for me, by that time, there will be only young fighters in the top who will stop the former champion and send him to retire.